Do not underestimate Artemis Fowl, huh? I'm not sure that's even possible. Artemis Fowl comes to us after 20 years' worth of plans for an adaptation of the popular fantasy novel series. It's about a knowledgeable Irish boy, Artemis Fowl Jr., whose father, played by Colin Farrell, is abducted and held hostage by a mysterious figure that demands Artemis bring him an artifact called the Aculos. Using his father's knowledge of Irish legends, Artemis's search for his father leads him to discover the underground world of fairies, a society that believes they are incompatible with mankind. With the pandemic going on, Disney has made a point in assuring that most of their upcoming films be presented on the big screen, while Artemis Fowl is the one movie of theirs that they dropped onto Disney+. And it's not hard at all to see why. It's helmed by Kenneth Branagh, who is a solid director. I'm personally not a fan of the first Thor movie, but I do really like his version of Much Ado About Nothing. So it's a wonder that they had a good director, highly popular source material, and 20 years of development, and we wind up with a movie as bland, soulless, uninteresting, and padded out as this. There are few times I can recall where 2/3 of a movie had gone by and I was thinking to myself, has the story gone anywhere? Now, I haven't read the book, but I did read a few synopses, and I can say that this movie averts from the book in a lot of ways. As I understand it, the boy started out as a crime genius, and he had kind of a redemptive arc, so fans of the book will likely be unpleasantly surprised to see this movie open with him surfing waves and going to school. He's nothing more than just a smart, ordinary kid. What makes the story even less interesting is how it omits one of the most integral parts of any fantasy story, being with the main character as he discovers the fantastical world. What we get instead is a pointless wraparound plot where this overgrown dwarf, played by Josh Gad, is being interrogated after the events of the movie, or lack thereof, and he's there to explain everything to us. When Artemis finds out that the myths his father told him might be real, he's like, fairies aren't real, are they? Josh Gad continues, but indeed they are, and the shot goes down into the underworld and he just talks about the place and its inhabitants. This goes on throughout the movie. Every time a character is introduced, he chimes in with his voiceover to tell us about him or her. There might as well have been like fact files on screen whenever a character appears. The very ideas within this world are anywhere from plain pedestrian to straight up wacko. For the former, there's a sequence where a fairy is flying through the human world, and she uses a GPS. That's literally what it is. We hear an automated voice say, head east toward this place. How unimaginative can you get? And then get this, the tall dwarf has this ability to stretch his mouth open really wide in what is easily the worst effect in a sea of otherwise alright CGI. So he stretches his mouth really wide open and burrows through the ground while all the dirt he gathers flies out of his butt. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm betting that wasn't in the book. Now, Artemis is played by a young actor named Ferdia Shaw who has never acted before, and I feel that there has been a high bar set in recent years in terms of child actors who have had little or no prior acting experience, with movies like The Jungle Book, Fallen Kingdom, and Dr. Sleep to name a few. So it may be easy to say that Ferdia Shaw was awful in his role, but it is a really bad performance. I don't know how much of it was his fault. There does seem to be a reoccurring thing in film where they think that an intelligent kid has to be played really stiff, and there's no reason to think that. On the other side, with the elderly career actors, Judi Dench plays a fairy commander, and what was she doing in this movie? I asked that question in both ways it can be read. What was she doing being in the movie, and what was she doing while in the movie? She speaks with this really scratchy voice. It made it seem as though she was possessed. It was so bizarre. Just what was she doing? If there's anyone who I think had any confidence in this movie, it's Patrick Doyle, the score composer. He really puts his all into the music. You can tell he thought, this is going to be the next fantasy epic, so I need to bring my A game. So, that's the highest praise I can give this movie. It's got a pretty good musical score. If I can think of another fantasy film this uninvolving and uninteresting, it would be Dolittle from earlier this year, because it feels like an incoherent flurry of concepts that have no rhyme or flow. This wasn't quite a kind of bad that enraged me, it's just aggressively bland and boring with an overload of exposition, barely any story, and some of the most forgettable characters I've seen in a Disney film. The casual moviegoer will probably get nothing from this movie, and those who have been waiting for a faithful adaptation of the books are going to be waiting a long time yet. I'm crying foul on this movie, and I'm giving it a 23%. On the bright side, since this was the one that Disney gave up on with the theatrical release while they postponed the Mulan remake, that gives me a little extra hope that they might actually be giving a darn with Mulan. Fingers crossed. That's a wrap. Thank you for watching. I hope you found this review helpful. Like and share, subscribe for more. This is Pop Culture. I'm Alex Pop.